and at times, it jeopardized her roles in major film projects. Her addiction also had a profound impact on her personal relationships. Marilyn's marriages, including her relationships with Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, were strained by her emotional instability and her reliance on medications. Her partners found it difficult to cope with her mood swings and her unpredictable behavior. Financially, Marilyn's addiction didn't just drain her bank account due to the cost of prescriptions. It also impacted her earning potential. As her reliability decreased, fewer studios were willing to take the risk of casting her in big roles. The ultimate tragedy of Marilyn Monroe's life is her premature death at the age of 36, which was officially ruled as an overdose of barbiturates. 2. Chet Baker. Chet Baker was a talented musician and actor, but beneath his cool exterior, Baker struggled deeply with drug addiction. Chet Baker's troubles began in the 1950s, at a time when he was rising to fame in the jazz world. His heroin addiction became a central part of his life, overshadowing his incredible talent. The first major impact of his drug use was on his reliability as a professional. Baker often showed up late to performances, or sometimes not at all. This erratic behavior made it difficult for him to maintain relationships with other musicians and music producers. Over time, his reputation took a hit, and many in the industry became wary of working with him. Baker spent a lot of money on drugs, which drained his resources.
Oh my fucking god, be quieter. Jesus Christ.
He even had to pawn his musical instruments to get by. This financial instability led to periods of homelessness and poverty. It was that bad. He was arrested multiple times for drug-related offenses, which included possession of narcotics. These legal troubles culminated in a serious incident in Italy in 1960, where he was arrested and jailed. Perhaps the most dramatic consequence of Baker's drug addiction was its impact on his physical health and appearance. In 1966, he was severely beaten during a drug deal gone wrong, resulting in injuries that knocked out most of his front teeth. This incident devastated Baker, significantly affecting his ability to play the trumpet. He had to learn to play his instrument all over again with dentures, which was a long... and painful process. Despite these challenges, Baker's talent continued to shine through. He made a musical comeback in the 1970s and continued to perform until his death in 1988. 3. John Belushi. John Belushi was a brilliant comedian and actor, best known for his energetic performances on Saturday Night Live and in movies like Animal House and The Blues Brothers. However, behind his comedic genius, Belushi fought a fierce battle that ultimately led to his untimely death. Belushi's rise to fame was meteoric. This fame came with the pressures to perform and constantly and exceed expectations. The entertainment world when it came to drug use, and Belushi was introduced to a lifestyle where drugs were readily available and often used as a means to maintain the relentless pace required by his career. His drug of choice soon became cocaine, which he used to keep up with his demanding schedule. Cocaine provided the burst of energy that Belushi felt he needed to maintain his dynamic performances, but it also led to an addiction that became increasingly difficult to manage. As his fame grew, so did his substance use. There were multiple reports of him showing up late to sets if he showed up at all. He became unpredictable, and his health started to deteriorate. The impact on his career was visible. Directors and producers who once were eager to work with him started to hesitate because of his unreliability. Those close to Belushi, including his wife Judy, were deeply concerned about his drug use, and despite multiple interventions, Belushi's addiction continued unchecked. Tragically, John Belushi's struggle with drugs ended with his death at the age of 33 from a combined drug intoxication involving cocaine and heroin, a mixture often referred to as a speedball. His death shocked the entire world. 4. Judy Garland. Beneath the sparkle of her stardom, Garland faced a long and painful struggle that began in her teenage years and continued throughout her life. Garland's issues with drugs started when she was just a young actress under contract with MGM. The studio system at that time was intense, and the pressure to maintain a certain image and perform at peak levels was immense. To help her cope with the exhausting schedules and to control her weight, studio executives and doctors prescribed her amphetamines. They also gave her barbiturates to help her sleep at night. This cycle of uppers to wake her and downers to help her sleep led to a dependency that she would battle for the rest of her life. These drugs affected her health, causing physical and mental problems that would worsen over time. Garland's addiction made her increasingly unreliable professionally. She would show up late to sets or forget plans. This behavior led to her being fired from multiple film projects, a huge blow to her career and reputation in Hollywood. Garland's struggles with addiction contributed to several of her marriages ending in divorce. The instability in her personal life seemed to mirror the ups and downs of her professional life, each feeding into the other in a destructive cycle. Despite these challenges, Garland's talent continued to shine through. She made several comebacks, delivering performances that reminded the world of her incredible talent. Her concerts were particularly successful, showcasing her ability to connect with audiences in a deeply personal way. Yet, no matter how triumphant these comebacks might have seemed, her addiction cast a long shadow over these achievements. 5. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was a gifted actor known for his intense performances and striking good looks, had a career that was both celebrated and scarred by his struggles with addiction and personal demons. Montgomery Clift's problems began to surface after a serious car accident in 1956, which drastically changed his life. While driving home from a party at Elizabeth Taylor's house, Clift crashed his car, severely injuring his face. The accident required extensive surgery, and Clift was left with lingering physical pain. To cope with this pain and the emotional trauma of his altered appearance, which threatened his career as a leading man, Clift turned increasingly to alcohol and prescription painkillers. The impact of his growing dependence on these substances was far-reaching. Professionally, Clift's addiction began to affect his ability to work. Known for his method acting and his ability to deeply inhabit his roles, drugs and alcohol started to dull his once sharp instincts. His performances became inconsistent, and his famously meticulous preparation for roles suffered. His physical appearance also changed, making it difficult to secure the roles that had made him a star. As his career declined, so did his financial stability, leading to additional stress that only fueled his addictions further. In his personal life, Clift was known to be a deeply private person, and his addiction worsened his isolation, making it difficult for friends and loved ones to reach him. Despite close relationships with stars like Elizabeth Taylor, who remained a steadfast friend, Clift often felt alone and misunderstood. He appeared in fewer films, and those in which he did appear often did not showcase the talent he was known for. His life, filled with so much promise and potential, was cut tragically short when he died of a heart attack at the age of 45.
Hey y'all, it's J-Dub, and today I partnered with Instagram to show you behind the scenes of a real hooper lifestyle on my close friend's school. To see more from me, make sure y'all follow my Instagram and
Shut the fuck up.
Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce was a groundbreaking comedian known for his open, critical style of comedy that tackled taboo subjects like politics and religion.
Ugh.
Bruce's relationship with drugs began in the 1950s, and it worsened over time. Initially, he used narcotics recreationally as part of the jazz and comedy club scenes, where such behavior was not uncommon. However, what started as casual use spiraled into full-blown addiction. As his career progressed, Bruce was under pressure to stay relevant in the rapidly changing world of stand-up comedy. Drugs became a crutch that he relied on to maintain his edge on stage. His drug use had a severe impact on his professional life. Lenny Bruce was known for his sharp wit and the ability to think quickly on his feet, but as his addiction worsened, it began to dull his mental acuity. He often appeared on stage looking disheveled, and sometimes struggled to keep his train of thought. This decline was noticeable to audiences and critics alike, and his performances suffered as a result. Legally, Bruce's addiction led to multiple arrests for drug possession. These legal troubles soon intertwined with his controversial comedic material, making him a frequent target for police and authorities. Bruce was arrested several times, not just for drugs, but also for obscenity due to his provocative content. The constant legal battles drained his finances and consumed much of his energy and resources. This addiction isolated him from friends and family. His wife, Honey Harlow, and he eventually divorced, and his ability to maintain close personal relationships deteriorated as his focus shifted more toward his legal troubles and securing drugs. His life became a cycle of arrests, court appearances, and performances, leaving little room for personal stability or growth. Lenny Bruce's life came to a premature end at the age of 40 when he died from a drug overdose. His death marked a tragic end to the life of a comedian who had once been at the forefront of changing how comedy was perceived and performed. 7. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum was one of Hollywood's tough guys, known for his deep voice, calm demeanor, and intense on-screen presence. Despite his successful career and iconic status in classic film noir, Mitchum faced personal battles with drug use that affected his life, although not to the devastating extent seen in some of his contemporaries. Mitchum's most public encounter with drugs came in 1948 when he was arrested for marijuana possession. This arrest was highly publicized and could have ended his career given the strict moral expectations for Hollywood stars at the time. Mitchum spent a week in jail. Surprisingly, the arrest did not damage his career as much as many predicted. In fact, his bad boy image somewhat bolstered his appeal in Hollywood, where his roles often hinged on playing the rugged outsider. Despite this brush with the law, Mitchum's drug use did not seem to spiral into the kind of debilitating addiction that plagued stars like Judy Garland or Marilyn Monroe. His real struggle was with alcohol, which was a more constant presence in his life and affected him more visibly. His drinking was part of the Hollywood culture at the time, yet it sometimes led to erratic behavior on set and affected his performance during shoots. Despite this, Mitchum was known for his professionalism and his ability to deliver compelling performances, often with little apparent effort, but all of these are nothing compared to what is to come. 8. Billie Holiday. Behind Billie Holiday's mesmerizing performances was a harrowing battle with drug addiction that profoundly impacted her career. Introduced to a fast-paced, often destructive lifestyle in the jazz circuits, she started using drugs as a way to cope with pressures and pains of her life, including a childhood marked by poverty and abuse. Heroin became her substance of choice, and as her career progressed, her addiction grew deeper. Her voice, once rich and powerful, began to show signs of wear, and the impact of her drug use wasn't just limited to her performances. The legal system of the time was harsh on drug offenders, and Holiday was no exception. She was targeted by the authorities, particularly under the draconian policies of Harry Anslinger, first commissioner of the U.S. Federal Bureau of Narcotics, who specifically targeted jazz musicians. Holiday was arrested multiple times for narcotics possession, and she served a year in prison in 1947, which was a devastating blow to her career. After her release, the consequences of her conviction made it difficult for her to work. One significant impact was the revocation of her New York City cabaret card, which was necessary for performing in any nightclub that served alcohol. Personal relationships were also deeply affected. Holiday's relationships were often tumultuous and marked by mutual substance abuse, which did not help her in her struggles with her own addiction. These relationships often ended in pain, leaving her to cope with the aftermath in the only way she knew, through more substance use. The costs associated with buying drugs, combined with legal fees and lost earnings from not being able to perform regularly, drained her finances. Despite making a substantial amount of money during her career, she was left with very little at the time of her death. She passed away in 1959 at the age of 44 under police guard in the hospital, arrested for drug possession even as she lay dying.
무슨 수업이었어?
I'll be back. I gotta look. in return.
나도
9. Veronica Lake.
Look
Anyone
at,
who
look at
remembers
that.
Veronica
What is
Lake
that? I
remembers her
also don't know.
fondly for her iconic peekaboo hairstyle, but her impact as a major Hollywood star was overshadowed by personal struggles, including a battle with mental health issues and alcoholism. Lake's rise to fame was rapid after she starred in hits like Sullivan's Travels and This Gun for Hire. As Lake's fame increased, so did her difficulties. She started using alcohol as a way to cope with her stress and anxiety. This alcohol dependence began to affect her professionally. Known for her aloof and sometimes frosty demeanor, Lakes became increasingly erratic and often clashed with co-stars and directors, and her punctuality and performance became unreliable. Lake went through multiple marriages and divorces, each adding to her emotional turmoil. Her relationships were unstable and conflicted. At the height of her career, she was a top earner in Hollywood, but her spending did not decrease when her income faltered. Combined with poor financial management and limited work, her finances suffered dramatically. By the 1960s, Lake had faced several financial crises, including filing for bankruptcy. In the later stages of her life, Lake's public appearances revealed the extent of her struggles. She was often seen in poor health and living in reduced circumstances. Despite attempts at a comeback in film and television, her health and personal issues prevented her from reclaiming her former stardom. Veronica Lake died in 1973 at the age of 50 from hepatitis, a disease complicated by her years of alcohol abuse. 10. Frances Farmer. Farmer's rise in Hollywood came after she won a trip to the Soviet Union and subsequently gained attention from Paramount Pictures. However, as her career developed, so did her reputation for having a strong-willed and volatile personality. These traits, combined with the pressures of fame, led to increasing conflicts within the studio system, which was known for tightly controlling the lives of its stars. Although Frances Farmer's issues with substance abuse are not as well documented as other stars from her era, it is known that she drank alcohol, and her erratic behavior has often been attributed to this. However, her most significant struggles were with her mental health. Farmer's behavior became increasingly unpredictable, and her relationships with colleagues, family, and friends suffered as a result. Her difficulties came to a
Hello.
head when she was arrested in 1942 for driving with her headlights on during a wartime blackout, an event that led to a violent altercation with police. This incident marked the beginning of a series of encounters with law enforcement and the judicial system, which eventually resulted in her being declared mentally incompetent. Farmer was institutionalized several times over the next few years, during which she underwent various treatments, including electroconvulsive therapy and a lobotomy. These treatments, particularly in the context of mental health care at the time, were often harsh and invasive. Farmer's experiences in psychiatric institutions were traumatic and deeply impacted her both physically and mentally. Frances Farmer died in 1970 at the age of 56. 11. Scott Fitzgerald. The famed American novelist, known for his portrayal of the Jazz Age in works like The Great Gatsby, struggled with alcoholism throughout his adult life. His battle with alcohol not only impacted his health and personal relationships, but also his career as a writer. The 1920s, when Fitzgerald rose to prominence, were characterized by a culture of excess.
Ugh.
He often drank to
When you
cope with
won't
the stress of
slow
his
down.
literary career and the high expectations placed upon him after the success of his early works. Professionally, his addiction led to periods of writer's block and an inconsistent output that frustrated his publishers and readers alike. While he could be extraordinarily productive at times, his work often suffered in quality due to his drinking. For example, despite the success of The Great Gatsby, Fitzgerald struggled to replicate its acclaim in subsequent works, largely due to his personal alcoholism. His relationship suffered as well. Fitzgerald's marriage to Zelda Sayre was famously turbulent, with both partners facing crises. Zelda had her mental health issues, which put additional strain on their marriage. The couple's frequent arguments, many fueled by alcohol, were well known among their social circles, and their public image as a glamorous literary couple often belied the private difficulties they faced. His earnings were inconsistent due to his sporadic literary output, and his lifestyle was expensive, mainly as he tried to maintain the appearance of success. As a result, he was often in debt, struggling to manage his finances effectively. The need for money led him to Hollywood in the late 1930s, where he worked as a screenwriter.
I know why it's
However, his
doing
drinking
that. I
continued to
forgot to
interfere with his
power
ability
it.
to work effectively, and professional
I
disappointments
meant
marked
them
his
there.
Hollywood years. Health-wise, Fitzgerald's constant alcohol consumption led to multiple health issues, including heart problems. F. Scott Fitzgerald's life was cut short at the age of 44 due to a heart attack, an event undoubtedly hastened by his years of alcohol abuse.
The Miracle 2-in-1 Powder Puff by Jewel Techniques. It's one puff designed with two
Shut the fuck
sides.
up.
12. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge was a groundbreaking African-American actress and singer, celebrated for her talent and beauty, but behind her success was a tragic tale of personal struggles, including battles with mental health issues and addiction. Dandridge's career reached historic heights when she became the first African-American woman to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones in 1954. However, despite this success, she faced constant battles against racial discrimination in Hollywood, which limited her opportunities and caused her immense frustration. As the pressures of her career and personal life mounted, Dandridge found herself increasingly turning to prescription medications. These were initially prescribed to help her manage her anxiety and sleep issues, common problems among high-profile celebrities. However, reliance on these medications gradually turned into dependency. The impact of her addiction on her career was major. As her dependence on drugs grew, her ability to perform consistently at the high standards she was known for began to falter. Her reliability came into question, and the roles she was offered became less prestigious. This decline in her career only added to her stress and deepened her dependency on drugs. Her marriage to dancer and choreographer Harold Nicholas ended in divorce, partly due to their mutual career stresses and his infidelity. She later married Jack Dennison in 1959, but this relationship was also fraught with problems, and despite earning a
She's
substantial
so
income at
cute.
the peak of her
I
career,
love her.
her money was poorly managed, and she was defrauded by those she trusted, including her financial advisors. This financial strain was exacerbated by her declining career, leading to
I have
significant
a
debt
new
and
message.
eventually bankruptcy.
There's
Her
my
health
phone.
deteriorated under the strain of her addiction and financial stress. Dandridge suffered from depression, and her mental health declined as her life spiraled out of control. Her tragic life came
First
to
name,
an
but I'm
early
having
end
an
when she
adjacent
died of
problem.
an accidental drug overdose at the age of 42 in 1965. The official cause of death was a combination of a tricyclic antidepressant and an over-the-counter sleeping medication, but this isn't the wildest drug addiction story yet. Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker, also known as Bird, was a legendary jazz saxophonist whose innovations and performances profoundly influenced the development of jazz. Despite his musical genius, Parker's life faced a severe struggle with heroin. Parker started drugs at a young age when he was involved in a car accident and was prescribed morphine for the pain. This exposure led to a lifelong battle with addiction. Heroin, in particular, became his drug of choice, and it wielded a destructive influence throughout his life. On stage, when Parker was under the influence but able to perform, his playing could be transcendent, pushing the boundaries of jazz with his complex chord substitutions and innovative rhythmic techniques. However, his addiction often led to inconsistency. There were many times when Parker would pawn his instruments for drug money, show up late to performances, or not show up at all. His unreliability frustrated bandmates and club owners, tarnishing his reputation in the music community over time. Despite his fame and the demand for his performances, the money he made quickly went towards feeding his addiction, leaving him in constant debt and, at times, homeless. Health-wise, Parker's addiction took a severe toll. He was hospitalized several times for drug-related issues, including ulcers and cirrhosis, which were exacerbated by his drug use and irregular lifestyle. His physical appearance also changed dramatically. He aged prematurely, and his once sharp demeanor became increasingly haggard. The culmination of these struggles was his untimely death at the age of 34. Parker died in the apartment of a friend, the official cause being listed as pneumonia and a bleeding ulcer. But his body had been ravaged by years of abuse, and he was also suffering from advanced cirrhosis. His death was a tragic end to a life that had burned intensely but all too briefly. 14. Belinda Lee. Belinda Lee was an English actress known for her captivating beauty and the tragic arc of her life. Born in 1935, Lee entered the film industry at a young age and quickly became popular for her roles in British films during the 1950s. Lee's life was complicated by intense emotional and relational turmoil,
Hello.
and she was known for her passionate and conflicted personal relationships, which often made headlines
We're doing
more than her
drag
professional work.
because I feel
Her
like
marriage
it.
to Cornel
We might
Lucas,
tease my
a
hair.
photographer, ended in
I don't know.
divorce amidst
It's already
growing
kind of
fame
big.
and the pressures that
Like
came with
it really just needs a little.
Following her divorce, she had a series of high-profile and often controversial relationships, which added to her emotional distress. Lee's lifestyle was marked by the high-pressure environment of the entertainment industry during the 1950s and 60s, which often included parties and socializing where alcohol was prevalent. She struggled with handling the stress and expectations placed upon her, which led to a lifestyle that could be erratic and self-destructive at times. This lifestyle often mirrored the unstable nature of her personal relationships and contributed to her reputation as a troubled star.
Hello.
As her personal issues took center stage, her reputation in the film industry suffered, and her career began to decline. She got cast less frequently, and the roles she did get were often less substantial, failing to capitalize on her early promise. In a tragic turn of events, Belinda Lee's life was cut short in a car accident in 1961, while she was in California at the age of 25. 15. Clara Bow. The original It Girl, Clara Bow, was a leading actress of the silent film era, capturing the hearts of millions with her charisma and on-screen presence. Born into poverty, Bow's rise to fame was a classic tale of rags to riches. Her success in Hollywood came quickly after she won a magazine contest that landed her roles in the film industry. She became an icon of the Roaring Twenties, embodying the carefree, spirited flapper of the era. However, the pressure that came with her rapid fame and the intense scrutiny of the public eye began to take a toll on her mental well-being. Clara Bow experienced significant mental health issues, which were exacerbated by the stresses of her career. The film industry at the time provided little support for its stars' mental health, and Bow, like many of her contemporaries, was largely left to manage her issues without adequate help. Her mental health struggles manifested in various ways. She suffered from insomnia and bouts of severe depression and anxiety, which impacted her ability to work consistently. Relentless media scrutiny and the betrayal by those she trusted with her financial affairs only deepened her distress. Bow was often portrayed negatively in the press.
We're gonna do a mixture of these two today.
Romantic involvements, further damaging her mental health. The impact on her career was substantial. By the early 1930s, a combination of public scandals, personal betrayals, and her ongoing mental health issues led Bow to retire from acting prematurely. She made her last film in 1933 and spent much of her remaining years away from the public eye. Clara Bow passed away in 1965 from a heart attack at the age of 60. George Sanders. George Sanders, an acclaimed actor known for his suave villain roles and deep melodic voice, faced a complex personal life of depression and a sense of disillusionment with his career and life, which ultimately led to his tragic passing. Born in Russia and raised in England, Sanders quickly made a mark in Hollywood, earning an Academy Award for his role in All About Eve. Despite this professional success, Sanders often expressed dissatisfaction with his roles and the film industry. He once famously remarked that he was a lifelong sufferer from a chronic case of boredom, which manifested in various aspects of his life. Sanders' relationships were complicated and characterized by multiple marriages and divorces, including marriages to actresses Zsa Gabor and Benita Hume. His cynical outlook and reported bouts of moodiness often strained his relationships, which friends and colleagues found difficult to
How
handle.
is everyone? I hope everyone's doing well today. I hope everyone is like, oh my god, tomorrow I have school. Yeah, y'all have school because y'all go to school. I don't.
Those close to him
It's a
knew
long
the private
story.
battles
Anyway,
against despair. While Sanders made
we're doing
good living from
drag.
his
It's
acting
going to
career,
be
his
gothic
personal
and fun
dissatisfaction
and
didn't seem to
whimsy
be
and
allayed by
glittery, and
financial
we're
stability
doing
or
pink
professional
eyebrows.
success. His wealth did not bring him happiness,
Ow.
and he continued to express a deep-seated ennui that money and success couldn't cure.
They're gonna be thinner, so they're gonna be like
Culmination
over
of his struggles
feminized,
was his death in
which is fun.
1972 by his own
But y'all
hand
know
at
how
the
I
age of
am. I
65.
often wear fake mustaches
Sanders checked into a
and
hotel
big
in Spain,
plastic wigs
and
on
his
my
body
face
was
and
later
tape my
found with
titties
empty
down.
bottles
So
of the barbiturate Nembutal, along with a note that read, "Dear world, I am leaving because I am bored. I feel I have lived long enough. I am leaving you with your worries in this sweet cesspool. Good luck." As sad as this was, this next story is even sadder. 17. Jane Eagles. Born in 1890, Eagles rose to fame in the 1920s, becoming known for her intense and emotive performances both on Broadway and in silent films. She was celebrated for her roles that often depicted complex, troubled women, ironically mirrored some aspects of her life. As Eagles' career progressed, she increasingly turned to alcohol and drugs. Her addiction began as a way to cope with the pressures of her career and the high expectations placed upon her in the competitive entertainment industry. However, her dependence quickly escalated and began to take a toll on her ability to function both professionally and personally. While she could be brilliant on stage and screen, her reliability became an issue. There were instances where she missed performances or was unable to complete projects. For example, during the run of the play Rain, in which she delivered what many considered to be her signature performance, Eagles missed several performances due to her ill health, attributed to her substance abuse. Her relationships were also known to be troubled and short-lived, including 2 marriages that ended in divorce. Her emotional instability and substance use strained these relationships, making it difficult for her to maintain lasting personal connections. Her health deteriorated significantly, and Eagles suffered from multiple health issues, including severe nervous system damage. Her rapid and visible physical decline affected her once luminous appearance and vitality. Jean Eagles' life came to an end at the young age of 39 in 1929. The official cause of death was listed as a combination of multiple ailments,
am
including
bored.
alcohol
I am
and
always
heroin
bored.
toxicity.
I will probably die
Her death was
because I was
widely
bored.
mourned in the entertainment community, and she was remembered for her immense talent and the potential that was cut tragically short.
I had to
18.
write something down.
Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton is best known for his deadpan expression and innovative slapstick comedy. Keaton's problems with alcohol began to surface more prominently during the 1930s, when the transition from silent films to talkies, his loss of independence in filmmaking after signing with MGM, which he famously described as the worst mistake of his career, and his divorce from his first wife, Natalie Talmadge, contributed to a deepening of his struggles. The impact of his drinking became increasingly evident as it began to affect his professional life. Known for performing his own daring stunts and having an impeccable sense of comic timing, Keaton's alcoholism led to a noticeable decline in the quality of his work. His performances during this period lacked the spark and ingenuity that had marked his earlier work. His marriage to Natalie Talmadge ended in 1932, partly due to his drinking and the financial strain caused by her extravagant spending and the Great Depression. The end of his marriage was a significant blow to Keaton, who was deeply attached to his family, including their 2 sons. The divorce led to further emotional and financial distress. Financially, Keaton faced numerous challenges. After the divorce, he was required to pay alimony, which strained his finances further. His decreased demand in Hollywood, coupled with his less lucrative roles and projects, meant that his income was no longer what it had once been. At one point, he resorted to pawning his film equipment and taking on smaller roles just to make ends meet. By the mid-1930s, his health had deteriorated to the point where he was hospitalized for a nervous breakdown. Fortunately, Keaton's life and career saw a revival in the 1940s and 1950s. He remarried happily to Eleanor Norris, who played a role in helping him overcome his addiction to alcohol. With her support, Keaton regained his health and began working more steadily, finding new success in television and revivals of his classic films. By the time of his death in 1966, Keaton had re-established himself as a respected figure in the entertainment industry, and his legacy as a film pioneer was secure. 19. Errol Flynn. This list wouldn't be complete without the charming Errol Flynn, who struggled deeply with many vices, including alcohol and other substances, issues that impacted his career, personal life, and health in profound and destructive ways. His penchant for hard living was well known in Hollywood circles. He was famous for his hedonistic lifestyle, which included heavy drinking and parties. This lifestyle became an integral part of his identity, both on and off the screen, but it took a heavy toll on his life. Professionally, Flynn's substance abuse began to affect his work during the peak of his career, leading to unreliable behavior on set, including lateness and unpreparedness, which frustrated directors and co-stars alike. Despite his natural charisma and talent, his performances began to suffer. He often appeared tired or unengaged, and his once dashing appearance showed signs of his hard living. As the years passed, this behavior reduced the quality and quantity of the roles he was on. Studios became wary of his reliability, and his box office draws started to wane. Flynn's excessive drinking and lifestyle finally caught up with him as he suffered from various health issues, including heart problems, liver disease, and chronic back pain. Errol Flynn's life ended tragically when he died of a heart attack in 1959 at the age of 50. His body bore the marks of his excessive lifestyle, with doctors noting significant health problems that were unusual for a man of his age. Flynn's death was seen as a direct result of his years of substance abuse and hard living. 20. Richard Burton.
Oh, I'm in love with
Burton's
her.
charm and talent made
I
him a
have to show
star
my
in
lover.
both film and theater, but behind the scenes he wrestled
I am so sorry, everybody. My mother cannot decide if she wants to stay out there and watch cats or go in the house and go pee. She cannot decide. So I just went back in the house because I was getting
His love
annoyed.
for alcohol was well known in the entertainment industry and became almost as legendary as
I'm
his
amazing.
acting skills. Professionally, Burton's alcoholism had a mixed impact.
Move hair. Oh my
On one
god.
hand, it sometimes fueled the intense, passionate performances that audiences and critics loved.
Ugh.
On the
Maybe
other
I should do
hand, it
curlers.
also
I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I went to my bathroom to find curlers. Could not find them. I have no clue what's happening. My fucking bath. Someone rearranged the entire bathroom for like the fourth time this week. This week. I don't.
Years,
Mm.
his persistent
I don't know what's
alcohol abuse
happening.
began to erode his once stellar reputation. Directors and producers became
Who
wary
the
of
fuck
his
needs to
unpredictable
rearrange a
nature,
bathroom that many
though
times?
many were still
Also,
willing to work with him
look how
because
long
of his
this
talent
is.
and draw at the box office.
That's really funny.
Despite earning substantial sums throughout his career,
I could do
Burton's
blonde,
lavish
like
spending and his
blonde
habit of buying
extensions all
expensive
throughout
gifts,
here. So like,
especially jewels for Elizabeth Taylor,
that's actually not that bad of an
coupled with
idea.
his drinking, led to considerable financial strain. His lifestyle was extravagant, and he was known for his generosity, which, although admirable, was bad for his finances. He suffered from numerous health problems related to his drinking, including cirrhosis of the liver and kidney issues. Richard Burton died in 1984 at the age of 58 from a cerebral hemorrhage, a condition undoubtedly worsened by his years of alcohol abuse. His death was seen as a tragic end to the life of one of the greatest actors of his generation, whose potential was continually compromised by his struggles with addiction. For more behind the scenes, look at the lives of your favorite stars. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
Really?
They're goldfish. I always go for the handful. I got about 73 here.
Marilyn Monroe's rumored secret affairs with the Kennedy brothers to Arnold Schwarzenegger's surprising secret child, we're counting down the 20 worst cheaters in Hollywood history. 1. Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson is as famous for his off-screen antics as he is for his on-screen performances. His charismatic presence and devil-may-care attitude extended into his personal life, which featured numerous relationships and well-documented rumors of infidelity over the years. Nicholson's reputation as a ladies' man is no secret. He never married during the height of his fame, which gave him a certain playboy persona, but he was involved in several long-term relationships that were often punctuated by his well-known infidelities. One of Nicholson's relationships was with actress Angelica Houston, with whom he had an on-again, off-again relationship from 1973 to 1990. Their relationship was complicated due to Nicholson's inability to read faithfully. Houston herself has spoken candidly about the emotional toll Nicholson's infidelity took on her, describing in her memoir how she often felt hurt and betrayed. Nicholson's affairs were numerous and involved both lesser-known women and high-profile celebrities. For instance, during his relationship with Huston, he reportedly had affairs with other actresses and models. One of the most shocking revelations came when Nicholson was involved with Rebecca Broussard, which led to the end of his long-term relationship with Huston. Broussard was much younger than Nicholson, and their affair resulted in 2 children. Despite becoming a father again in his 50s, Nicholson's commitment issues persisted, and he and Broussard eventually separated. Nicholson's love life has always been part of his public persona. He once famously said in an interview, "I am who I am, and I'm not going to change." 2.
You're a cheater, and you're a cheater, and you're a cheater.
Johnny Cash is one of the most influential
Have you
musicians-
noticed how many famous people? I've noticed this recently. Actually, just now I was thinking, so many famous men throughout history are named like Nicholas or Nika or something with an N-I-C at the beginning of in some form, and that's so weird. Nicholson, Nicholas. 2 spellings of the word Nicholas. Like, it's so weird. Why does this happen? I have so many questions on why this happens, and I'm just like, why? I think it's like one of the least attractive names on the fucking planet. Yes, it's kind of icky. I do like the name Nicole though, but I think that's because other reasons. Or Melissa. I like the name Melissa, but that's because that's kind of like a really feminine version of the word Nicholas. But I like Melissa because
Believe in putting others before
I have an
yourself.
attachment to the
If you
name
wanted to join us at Chamberlain University.
that involves some trauma, but like, yeah.
One day at camp, you ate an entire bag of sloppy Joe, wrecked your bunk with farts, and defecated on the rug? Luckily, we have pet food to eliminate the stench.
Shut up.
Sim pet.
Shut up. I hate commercials. I was gonna say commercials. I do hate commercials. Don't know what the fuck a commercial is. Commercials. I yell at them a lot.
However, the early years of their relationship were built amidst the ongoing turbulence of Cash's life, including overcoming his substance abuse issues, which June helped him conquer. While his early years were marked by indiscretion and the chaos of a rising star, his later years with June showed a man who had found some measure of peace. They remained married until they died in 2003, only a few months apart.
No,
3. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
that's not.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, a giant in both the entertainment and political arenas, has lived a life as large as his
Arnold Schwarzenegger, the man I can't pronounce a lot of names. He has a really
came to light
spell.
towards the end of his governorship of California and had significant repercussions on his personal life. Schwarzenegger was married to Maria Shriver, a journalist and member of the Kennedy family in 1986. Together, they became one of America's most famous couples, balancing their careers in politics and media. They raised 4 children and presented a united front that combined celebrity and traditional American values. However, in May 2011, just after Schwarzenegger's term as governor had ended, Los Angeles Times broke a story that Schwarzenegger had fathered a child with the family's longtime housekeeper, Mildred Bennett, more than a decade earlier. Shriver was kept secret about
His kid look. Oh my god, that kid looks more like him than his other children. It's freaky.
The revelation was a bombshell, leading to intense media scrutiny and public backlash. Schwarzenegger's image as a family man crumbled, and Shriver moved out of their home shortly after. The couple's separation was very public, and they eventually filed for divorce. The son he fathered with Diana was born just a few days after his youngest legitimate child, with Shriver. Schwarzenegger has since taken steps to be a part of his son Joseph's life and has been
He has a
public with an
killer
excellent
beard.
Joseph
That is a
Biden
good beard. Sorry, y'all can't even see what I'm talking about. I'm dumb.
4. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie was known not just for his films, but also for his numerous marriages and affairs, often with much younger women. His first notable relationship scandal occurred with his first wife, Ruth Harris. They married in 1926. Harris was just 16, largely because Harris claimed to be pregnant, which turned out to be false at first, though she did later give birth to a son who sadly died in infancy. The marriage was unhappy and short-lived, ending in divorce 2 years later. His
Good.
second marriage to another young actress, Lita Gray, was even more scandalous. Gray was only 16 when she married the 35-year-old Chaplin in 1924, and this marriage, too, was prompted by a pregnancy. The union
Oh
two sons.
Oh, you've been married if I left a
Gray
bitch.
accused Chaplin of cruelty and other misdeeds in
I
a
hate people.
sensational divorce filing that became fodder for the tabloids.
How much money do you think his lawyers got?
Gray's detailed divorce complaint leaking to the press
Charlie
and causing
Chaplin?
a huge
Because he was like a
scandal
known
because of
pedo.
explicit content
And married multiple teenagers. How much money do you think his fucking, his lawyer got throughout the years?
It was also surrounded
Probably
by
a
mystery,
shit
as
ton.
it was never clear when
He had a kid when he was like fucking 70
They traveled together and
with
Congress
one of his
started
wives. He had a
seamless
kid when he
The
was like
relationship
fucking
ended
70
after
or
several
some
years
shit.
amidst unconfirmed speculations of Chaplin's wandering eye and Goddard's influence. His fourth and final marriage was to Una O'Neill, daughter of the famous playwright Regina O'Neill.
He married an
Una was only 18
O'Neill?
when she married the 54-year-old Chaplin in 1943.
Oh, she was
Despite the age gap and
cute.
initial shock to the public and her family, this marriage was Chaplin's longest and happiest. It lasted until
Ooh,
his death,
she was
and he
fucking
was
right.
free from the scandals of infidelity that had marked his earlier relationships. They had 8 children together, and Una remained devoted to Chaplin throughout their life together.
8. Oh god.
Errol Flynn was famous for his off-screen exploits, which included a reputation for womanizing. His charismatic demeanor and irresistible charm made him a Hollywood heartthrob, but these traits paved the way for a personal life marked by numerous affairs. Flynn's first marriage was to actress Lily Damita in 1935. Like much of Flynn's romantic life, the union was full of volatility and alleged mutual infidelity. Damita, a prominent actress in her own right, and Flynn had a stormy relationship.
What matters isn't in how you get here. It's in how you leave.
Shut up.
Marriage lasted
That's how
7
you
years
leave.
before the couple decided they had had enough in 1942. Perhaps the most notorious episode in Flynn's life was the 1942 trial, where he was accused of indulging 2 underage girls. Flynn was ultimately acquitted, but the trial was a media circus and added to his reputation as a ladies' man. This term often glossed over the more unsavory aspects of his conduct. Despite the acquittal, his image was tarnished, yet paradoxically his fame and allure only increased. After his turbulent first marriage, Flynn married Nora Eddington, who was a young woman working at the courthouse during his trial. Their marriage saw the birth of 2 daughters, but was similarly troubled by Flynn's ongoing infidelities and his heavy drinking. Flynn's third and final marriage was to actress Patrice Wymore in 1950. Despite his marriage and his role as a father to their daughter, Flynn's lifestyle remained largely unchanged. He continued to be linked with numerous women, and his marriage to Wymore, although it lasted until his death, was marked by Flynn's consistent infidelities and absences. 6. Clark Gable. Clark Gable's first marriage was to Josephine Dillon, his acting coach and significantly older than him. As Gable's star began to rise, his eyes wandered and their marriage eventually ended. His second marriage, to socialite Reed Langham, similarly saw issues due to Gable's relentless charm and inability to stay faithful. The marriage was troubled by Gable's affairs with Hollywood actresses, which were often publicized by the media. However, his affair with actress Loretta Young while filming Call of the Wild in 1935 led to one of the most talked about scandals of that era. This affair resulted in a child, a daughter named Judy, whom Young hid from the public to protect her career and Gable's. Young went on an extended vacation to Europe and returned to the U.S. with an adopted daughter, Judy, who later discovered that she was indeed Gable's biological child. Gable's most famous romantic venture was with actress Carole Lombard. They met while he was still married to Rhea Langham and began a relationship that was the subject of much gossip. After securing a divorce from Langham, Gable married Lombard in 1939.
Of course he did.
Their marriage was passionate and deeply loving, often
Aw.
described as the happiest time of Gable's life.
Oh.
Tragically, it ended in heartbreak when Lombard died in a plane crash
Aw.
while returning from the war bond party.
That's
Her death devastated
sad.
Gable, who is said to have never fully recovered from the loss.
Oh.
After Lombard's death, Gable enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces during the
No.
a unit many saw as a way to honor his late wife. Post-war, he returned to Hollywood, but his life was different. He married twice more, first to Sylvia Ashley and then to almost as famous as her acting. She was married 8 times to 7 different men, 2 of which were to Richard Burton. Her love life began with her first marriage to Conrad Ricky Hilton Jr. in 1950 when she was just 18. This marriage was short-lived, marred by Hilton's abusive behavior and excessive drinking. Taylor's quest for true love didn't stop here, and it became a recurring theme of her life story. Her second marriage, to British actor Michael Wildey, was somewhat more stable and resulted in 2 sons. However, as Taylor's star continued to rise, the couple grew apart. The most scandalous of her relationships was undoubtedly with singer Fisher. Fisher was married to actress Debbie Reynolds, who was also Taylor's friend when he began an affair with Taylor. This affair was highly publicized and controversial, as Fisher left Reynolds to marry Taylor in 1959, an act that was seen as a major betrayal by the public and by Hollywood theaters. Taylor's relationship with Richard Burton, whom she met on the set of Cleopatra, is perhaps the most famous. Both were married to other people when they began their affair, causing another scandal. Their relationship was filled with intense passion and equally intense conflicts, leading to 2 marriages and 2 divorces. Their love affair was nothing short of a Hollywood epic, marked by lavish spending, excessive drinking, and very public arguments. Other marriages included a brief union with Senator John Warner and a somewhat longer one
She was married to a senator?
whom she met in rehab. Each of these relationships had their own dynamics and challenges. While not all ended by infidelity, each reflected Taylor's constant search for enduring love amidst the complexities of her life.
I'll be back. I gotta go make a pot of coffee. No, I'm back.
Marilyn Monroe. Although more often seen as a victim of exploitation, Monroe's alleged affairs, including rumors of relationships with both John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, have cemented her place in the lore of Hollywood scandal. Monroe's marriages were marked by struggle and, in some cases, allegations of infidelity that contributed to their downfalls. Her first marriage, to James Dougherty at the age of 16, was a bid to escape from foster care. While this marriage ended without public scandal, it was Monroe's subsequent relationships that drew intense media scrutiny. Her second marriage to Joe DiMaggio baseball player, though intensely passionate, was also fraught with problems, including DiMaggio's jealousy of Monroe's fame and sex status. The marriage lasted only 9 months, and while there was no concrete evidence of infidelity, Monroe's growing fame and relationships within Hollywood.
Day life of the film director part 2. Started the day off location scaling for the short film into massive mansion with my first AD and production designer. We did this just to make sure we had everything we need for the shoot. It's coming up in a few weeks. Here's my first AD. Super happy with how it went. I then went to a job for an architect firm where I was shooting a dance in one of their spaces. This is just making good money, but I was super happy with how it looked after we completed the shoot. It was super beautiful. I had it.
However, it was her third marriage to playwright Arthur Miller when rumors of infidelity became more pronounced. During the marriage, Monroe's behavior became increasingly erratic, partly due to her personal struggles and professional pressures. It was rumored that she had affairs during this time, including with her Let's Make Love co-star, Yves Montand, which was widely reported and added strain to the marriage. Perhaps the most famous and controversial of all Monroe's alleged affairs were those linked to John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy. While much of the details remain shrouded in mystery and hearsay, it is widely believed that Monroe had romantic encounters with both men. These relationships have been the subject of extensive speculation and have contributed significantly to the mythology surrounding Monroe's life and death. 9. Richard Burton. Passionate reunions and painful breakups marked Richard's highly publicized relationships. Burton's first marriage to Sybil Williams in 1949 seemed stable at first, and they had 2 daughters together. But as Burton's career took off and he became a major star, his fidelity waned. His rising fame brought him into contact with numerous Hollywood starlets, and his charismatic, brooding persona made him highly attractive to many women. Reports of his infidelities began to surface, putting strain on his marriage. However, Burton's meeting with Elizabeth Taylor on the set of Cleopatra in 1962 sparked what would become his most famous affair. Both were married at the time, Taylor to Eddie Fisher and Burton to Williams. The Burton-Taylor affair was highly scandalous, drawing media attention worldwide due to their superstar statuses. The chemistry on and off the screen was undeniable and intense. This led to Burton divorcing Williams and Taylor doing the same with Fisher. Burton and Taylor married in 1964, but their relationship was anything but calm. They were known for their fiery arguments and equally passionate reconciliations. Despite their clear love for each other, Burton's infidelity and both of their temperaments led to their first divorce in 1974. Surprisingly, they remarried in 1975, only to divorce again in 1976. During their breaks, Burton was rumored to have had affairs with other actresses, though none as captivating as his relationship with Taylor. Burton married twice after his second divorce from Taylor. First, to model Susie Hunt, and then to makeup artist Sally Hay. With his marriage to Hunt was short-lived, though his final marriage to Hay was reportedly more stable and lasted until he died in 1984. 10. Ingrid Bergman. Ingrid Bergman, one of Hollywood's most beloved and respected actresses, experienced a major personal and professional scandal that rocked her image as the epitome of on-screen purity and grace. Bergman was married to Dr. Peter Lindstrom, a nurse, with whom she had a daughter, Nina. The marriage was seen as stable, but by the late 1940s, Bergman's desires and professional life began to merge into this perceived unhappiness. The turning point came when she met Italian director Roberto Rossellini. In 1949, Bergman wrote to Rossellini expressing admiration for his work and her interest in working with him. This led to her role in Stromboli, a film directed by Rossellini. During the film's production, Bergman and Rossellini began an affair. This relationship was not just scandalous because both were married, but also because Bergman became pregnant with Rossellini's child while still legally married to Lindstrom. The affair caused a massive scandal in the United States, where Bergman had been idolized as a model of virtue on and off the screen. The news of her affair and subsequent pregnancy led to her being denounced on the floor of the U.S. Senate as a powerful influence for evil, and to being ostracized by much of it. harsh and unforgiving. Bergman's marriage to Lindstrom ended in divorce, and she married Rossellini in 1950. The couple had 3 children together, including actress Isabella Rossellini. However, this marriage ultimately ended in divorce in 1957. During her marriage to Rossellini, Bergman's career in Hollywood was on hold, and she made films primarily in Italy with her husband. 11. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra's affairs were as legendary as his music career. Sinatra's first marriage to Nancy Barbato in 1939 seemed grounded initially, as they were childhood sweethearts. However, as Sinatra's fame skyrocketed, the marriage faced immense strain. His constant touring, rising celebrity status, and involvement with numerous Hollywood starlets led to their eventual separation. Sinatra's affairs during this marriage were not particularly secret. His high-profile relationships, particularly with actresses, were frequently the subject of tabloid gossip. One of Sinatra's most significant public affairs was with Ava Gardner, which began while he married Nancy. Gardner was a major film star with a fiery personality that matched Sinatra's. Their affair was intense and public, leading to Sinatra's divorce from Nancy in 1959. He married Gardner shortly after, but this relationship was as volatile as it was passionate. Both parties were involved in numerous extramarital affairs, which, coupled with their heavy drinking and arguments, led to their divorce in 1957. Even after his marriage to Gardner, Sinatra's love life continued to be lively. He was linked to many famous women, including Lauren Bacall, Julia Krauss, and Mia Farrow, to whom he was briefly married from 1966 to 1968. A significant age difference marked his marriage to Farrow. Sinatra was 30 years her senior. Sinatra's fourth and final marriage to Barbara Marx in 1976 lasted until he died in 1998. While this marriage was more stable, rumors of Sinatra's infidelities continued, though they did not dominate headlines as his earlier romantic endeavors did. 12. Debbie Reynolds. Debbie Reynolds, beloved for her girl-next-door charm and successful film career, also had a personal life marked by public heartbreak and betrayal that often mirrored the dramatic roles she played on screen. Reynolds' first marriage was to singer Eddie Fisher in 1955. They quickly became one of Hollywood's most celebrated couples, embodying a perfect American family image. The couple had 2 children, Carrie and Todd Fisher. However, this idyllic portrayal is shattered when Fisher has an affair with Elizabeth Taylor, a close friend of Reynolds. Taylor's husband recently died in a plane crash, and Fisher consoled her, which led to an affair. The affair between Fisher and Taylor was highly public and scandalous, with intense media coverage that devastated Reynolds. Public sympathy was largely with Reynolds, as she was seen as the moral victim, a portrayal that only bolstered her image as a sympathetic and enduring figure in Hollywood. Reynolds and Fisher divorced in 1958. This episode remained one of the most talked about scandals in the era. After her Fisher divorce, Reynolds married Harry Gardner, a businessman and shoe store chain owner in 1960.
I can say
This marriage
gay
too
friend.
was
I came up.
mainly due to
He came up. He came
financial management, which eventually led to Reynolds' financial ruin.
up to the meet and greet.
Nearly a decade of dealing with these issues, Reynolds and Carl divorced in 1973. Reynolds' third marriage was to real estate developer Richard Hamilton in 1984. Much like her previous marriage, this relationship was troubled and marked by disappointments. The union was far from happy and eventually divorced in 1996. Throughout these challenges, Debbie Reynolds remained a resilient and beloved figure in the
He
entertainment
goes, our meet and greet to meet us both. I'm just gonna say how much it costs. It costs $300. Whatever. Okay, shoot me in the eye, bitch. So he comes up and he's like a member. So you're us, I'm him, and then he comes up and he goes, so $300. Would he just split that or? So weird. Oh my God.
They were the golden couple of Hollywood who admired and cherished
There's no secret that I need braces.
I remember when I started looking at salons, I go to salons, I used to go to barbershops, and trying to make that transition, I was just looking up Google reviews for places, and I got taken on a beautiful journey because all these places, especially.
After Taylor, Fisher's romantic life continued to be complex and marked by further marriages and divorces. He married Connie Stevens, with whom he had 2 daughters. This marriage, too, ended in divorce. Subsequent marriages to Terry Richard and Betty Lynn also particularly those concerning his romantic life, often overshadowed his professional achievements. His affairs and marriages made headlines that competed with his musical releases, and his public image suffered as a result. 14. Joan Crawford. Crawford
Anybody knows who is like trying out a place for the first time? Like when you go to get your hair done, you really put your life in somebody else's hands. And that's all of us, whether you go to a barbershop, salon, whatever. Because I've got bad haircuts before. I've got haircuts that left me looking like
And the marriage ended in divorce in 1990.
they just left me looking like I don't know how to take care of myself, and now I gotta wait till my hair grow back a little bit to look even again, you know? I went to the website of this salon, and I saw all the like beautiful designs of the braids that they do, the variety that they do and everything. So then I went to the bottom of the website, and it says, we're currently not taking clients, right? Which happens sometimes. But I went to their Google just to check if maybe they don't update the website, because I was like, let me call, because maybe something's changed, right? When I get to their Google profile, I just go ahead and I'm like, let me look at the reviews just to check, because all this stuff is beautiful in the picture, but these could be Google images. So I'm reading lots of 5 stars, lots of 4 stars. Overall, they have a 4.7 as a business. So I'm like, they're crushing it, right? I do see a 1-star review. I'm like, well, let me. Because you don't want to count out a 1-star reviews experience, because that means that whatever happened, as long as they're not lying, whatever happened, happened. And it could happen to you, right? So I'm reading it, and it's like, staff was so rude, I booked an appointment, they were trying to act like they didn't know who I was, and they sent me out, right? And I was like, wow, that seems weird. Because the business can comment underneath their comment, the business said, Chandra, you need help. Chandra, you need help. You tried to fool us and showed up as if you had an appointment, even though it says on our website we are not currently taking
You won't
clients.
find confidence on
said
any
that you
listed
talked to
SUV
someone that
features,
we don't
but there is
employ
one
about
brand
an
that has it in
appointment,
spades.
and then sat in the
And
chair
they back it up
demanding.
with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Kia, movement that inspires.
That's amazing.
Denton County's been my home for over 40 years. I built my business here, and I raised my family here. Let me
I'm
tell
gonna
you,
sit
seeing
motherfucker in the Bravo.
It's like I had a very similar experience to Chandra. I was just like, it's like, I don't know, what have I tried? I don't know, maybe I can be slick. And they were like, sir. I remember when I started.
Discussed among insiders, but not always making it to
Download this.
I would say losing Drag Race was probably one of the biggest disappointments in my life. When I first lost it, like Susan said, oh, you were never gonna win that. I didn't know that. Oh, come on.
King of Cool.
I would say losing Drag Race was probably one of the biggest disappointments in my life. When I first lost it, like Susan said, oh, you were never gonna win that. I didn't know that. Oh, come on. I would say losing Drag Race was probably one of the biggest disappointments in my life. When I first lost it, like Susan said, oh, you were never gonna win that. I didn't know that. Oh,
And he was known for being unfaithful.
oh, now I'm not that triggered by this because I did recently react to this. I'm so fascinated by the double brow crease action. You know what it kind of looks like? It kind of looks like you're doing 2 different faces. Well, here's what was
The
happening.
relationship finally
I
ended
had
in
the vision
1979,
for a large
largely
live.
due to
I didn't have the
increasingly
execution. I'll tell you what I love is the little
Queen
red
married
roses
actress
the
Howard
face and using as a bang.
his co-star in
Love
the
that.
movie
Well,
The
it never looked like hair.
Girl
It
had
doesn't look like hair. It looks like a Portuguese boy get the buffet in Las Vegas. I had this vision of big black liner, floating lid, which is now like the Trixie makeup. Some say iconic. I'd say that's fair. And I wouldn't say that the brows are successful either. No. No, I think the lip is fine. That lip liner is wet and chunky. Come on!
Queen's failing health as he battled cancer. 17. Katharine Hepburn. Hepburn's long-term affair with Spencer Tracy was one of Hollywood's most open secrets. Tracy, a married man whose wife, Louise Treadwell, chose not to divorce him due to her Catholic beliefs, had a relationship with Hepburn that began in the 1940s and lasted until he died in 1967. This relationship was both a professional partnership and a deeply personal connection. Hepburn and Tracy starred in 9 films together, and their on-screen chemistry directly reflected their off-screen bond. Despite their deep affection, the nature of their relationship required discretion due to Tracy's marital status and conservative social mores at the time. Hepburn was known to have respected Tracy's situation, not pushing for a public knowledge of their relationship during his lifetime. She even went to great lengths to protect their privacy, often leaving Tracy's home before dawn to avoid drawing attention from the press and the public. Numerous other affairs did not mark Hepburn's involvement with Tracy. Rather, it was defined by its longevity and depth.
Ah, so
Hepburn
much in
once
my
mentioned
eyelashes.
that she loved Tracy blindingly and adjusted much of her life to fit his needs, including caring for him in his later years when he struggled with health issues. Before her relationship with Tracy, Hepburn had been married once to Ludlow Ogden Smith, a union that ended in divorce. Reportedly unhappy marriage, and with the affair with Tracy aside, Hepburn was rumored to have had relationships with other notable figures, including Howard Hughes and John Ford. 18. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando, one of the most influential actors of the 20th century, was as notorious for his personal life as he was revered for his groundbreaking performances. His relationships and romantic entanglements were often controversial. His first marriage to actress Hannah Kashfi in 1957 was short-lived, ending in divorce in 1959. Kashfi accused Brando of infidelity, among other issues, which were highly contested in a bitter divorce battle. Following his divorce from Kashfi, Brando married Navita Castaneda in 1960. This marriage, too, was marred by Brando's unfaithfulness. His affairs were not particularly secretive. His marriage with Castaneda suffered because of his relationships with other women. They eventually separated. Brando's third marriage to Rita Terikaya, his co-star from Mutiny on the Bounty, also saw similar patterns. Despite starting with much affection and resulting in 2 children, Brando's inability to remain faithful led to their eventual separation and divorce in 1972. His relationship with Terikaya was one of his more stable unions, yet it could not withstand the pressures of his infidelities. Apart from his marriages, Brando's love life included numerous liaisons with many women and, reportedly, some men. These relationships were with co-stars, fans, and Hollywood insiders. These affairs were often brief but intense, contributing to his reputation as a highly sexual and somewhat unpredictable figure in Hollywood. One of the most public aspects of Brando's complicated love life was his relationship with actress Rita Moreno. Their on-again, off-again affair in the 1950s and 60s was passionate and stormy. Moreno herself has spoken about the emotional highs and lows of their relationship, indicating that Brando's infidelities and their intense emotional connection led her to a point of profound despair. 19. Judy Garland. Garland's first marriage was to composer David Rose in 1941, when she was just just 19 years old. This relationship ended by 1944, partly due to Garland's intense work schedule and emotional issues, and partly because of infidelities on both sides. Rose was Garland's first husband, and their young, fragile love couldn't withstand the pressures of Garland's rising stardom and Hollywood's intrusive nature. Her second marriage to director Vincente Minnelli in 1945 seemed more promising. They met while working together on the set of Meet Me in St. Louis, and their relationship blossomed into marriage. They had a daughter, Liza Minnelli, who would become a star in her own right. However, the marriage to Minnelli also suffered due to Garland's increasing dependency on drugs and alcohol. Garland's third marriage to Sid Luft in 1952 was perhaps the most impactful of her career decisions, as Luft helped manage and provide her concert career. Despite their partnership producing two children, Lorna and Joey Luft, and some professional successes, the marriage deteriorated under financial strain and personal discord, leading to a separation in 1963 and a protracted divorce process that ended in 1965. Her fourth and fifth marriages, to actor Mark Herron in 1965 and businessman Mickey Deans in 1969, were short-lived and filled with problems. Her marriage to Deans was in March 1969, just months before her tragic death in June of the same year. Judy Garland's quest for love and stability was often unfulfilled throughout her life, reflecting the immense pressures and personal battles she faced. 20. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth, known as the love goddess of Hollywood, epitomized glamour and stardom in the 1940s. Her first marriage to Edward Judson in 1937 was instrumental in boosting her career, but detrimental to her happiness. Judson was controlling and manipulative, and his management of her career came at the cost of her emotional well-being. This marriage, fraught with Judson's alleged infidelities and abusive behavior, ended in divorce in 1942. Her most famous marriage was to Orson Welles in 1933, whom she met at the peak of her career. Both were massive stars, but their marriage struggled under the weight of their careers and personal demons. Welles was often unfaithful, a fact that deeply hurt her. Despite their passionate start, the marriage was plagued by Welles's wandering attention and the couple's frequent clashes, leading to their divorce in 1947. Hayworth's third marriage, Prince Ali Khan in 1949, was her most publicized. Marrying into royalty brought Hayworth immense attention, but little happiness. The marriage faced numerous challenges, including cultural clashes and intense scrutiny from the press. Ali Khan's well-known infidelities and playboy lifestyle were too much for Hayworth, and the couple separated in 1951, with their divorce finalized in 1953. After her relationship with Khan, Hayworth married singer Dick Haymes in 1953. Haymes was also unfaithful and had financial troubles that Hayworth found herself entangled in. Her final marriage was to film producer James Hill in 1958, and Hill was reportedly abusive, and the marriage quickly deteriorated amidst allegations of domestic strife. They divorced in 1969. For more stories about Golden Age Hollywood
I'm
stars,
having so much
be sure
fun.
to subscribe and see you on the next one. And see you on the next one.
I'm sweaty. Ugh, I'm sweaty. 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 Ugh.
Summer sounds like
It's a book.
Believe it or not, the Hollywood scandals of the past were even more outrageous than those we see today. Powerful figures back then had the freedom to engage in and cover up serious crimes like murder, or even worse misconducts with minors. The scandals also extended to high-profile female stars, who were often involved in extramarital affairs and other controversial behaviors. Let's dive into the 50 most shocking scandals that Hollywood tried to hide. 1. Patricia Douglas's case. This case is one of the darkest and most hidden controversies in Hollywood history, involving the assault of a young dancer during an MGM studio party in 1937.
My nose looks so
During the party,
small.
which was
I
heavily
always
supplied with
forget it
alcohol
looks so
and held
small
at
when I
an
do this.
location,
It's not
Douglas
by
was
any
assaulted
means,
by one
but it
of the
looks
salesmen
very
named
cute when it's
Ross.
like this.
She was
It's
forcibly
very
fed
short
liquor and then
and
attacked.
small
Shockingly,
and
the
smushy.
environment was such that her cries for help went unheeded, and the assault occurred in a
You can't even
context
tell on
facilitated
camera
by
the fucking
studio's
hair is
engineers.
peeking out. That's
MGM
hilarious.
went to
I
extraordinary
love
lengths
that.
to suppress the story. The studio's fixers
My
worked to manage the
eyelashes.
fallout, ensuring that the press was kept at bay and that any reports were
I
immediately quashed.
okay, this is gonna be really
MGM's
disturbing.
influence extended
I
to the
put
legal
my
pursuit.
nails in my
Alice
eyes
bravely
a
went to
lot
the police, making her one of the first women to
because
accuse a
it
man
feels
of assault
nice.
in Hollywood
And
public.
sometimes you gotta itch
However,
like your
the
fucking
studio
waterline with
manipulated
your
the
fucking
legal
crack
process,
pinky
medical
nail.
examinations,
And
police interviews
people get
reportedly
grossed out
managed
by
to
that.
undermine
And
the
I
credibility
don't
of
really
Janet
care.
Intimidating.
Fuck off.
The aftermath of the assault was devastating for Douglas. Her career in Hollywood ended, and she lived much of her life in obscurity and pain, struggling with the trauma of her experience.
coming in, out. Okay, sorry guys, got distracted with my kitty cat. I think that I know what I'm going to put her after though. And she has a pattern on her foot, and it looks like a hand tattoo. It's on her front foot. I think it might be the right. And it looks like a deer. It looks like a deer with a little head and little. And I was thinking, I was like, I could so get that tattooed on my foot.
It shows the lengths to which stars would
It'd be
go to protect
such a
their
fucking
image,
pain,
and an
but I
era
could
when the
so get
social
that tattooed
stigma
on my
surrounding
foot.
unwed motherhood could ruin careers. Next, in the early 1930s, during the filming of The Call of the Wild, Young co-starred with Clark Gable, a major star at the time. It was rumored that during this production, Young and Gable had a brief affair, resulting in Young becoming pregnant. Given the severe consequences an out-of-wedlock pregnancy would have for an actress at that time, Young and her studio went to great lengths to keep the pregnancy a secret. Loretta Young disappeared from the public eye for a time, citing illness. This was to hide her pregnancy. After giving birth in 1935, she placed her daughter Judy in an orphanage temporarily. Young later adopted Judy from the orphanage, presenting the situation publicly as a traditional adoption. Judy Lewis, the child, grew up without knowing the true identity of her parents.
Hay una marca que tiene confianza en abundancia y lo respalda con una garantía limitada de 10 años o 100,000 millas. Kia, movement that inspires. Since forever, we've hated Mondays. Monday. But it doesn't have to be like this. Introducing Monday Hair Care. Our modern, award-winning formulas. Smooth, hydrate, and protect against whatever life throws at you. No more bad Mondays. Monday Hair Care.
The studio played a significant role in helping to orchestrate the concealment, aware that the truth could damage not only Young's career, but also Clark Gable's and affect their profitability. 3. Gloria Graham marries her stepson. Gloria Graham's marriage to her former stepson, Anthony Ray, was one of Hollywood's more sensational scandals. This relationship not only shocked the
I'll be back.
rocked the foundation of the industry. In 1962, when it was revealed that Gloria had married Anthony Ray, the son of her former husband, director Nicholas Ray. Graham had been married to Nicholas Ray earlier in her career, and during that marriage, Anthony was her stepson. The relationship between Graham and Anthony Ray reportedly began under scandalous circumstances. Nicholas Ray had allegedly discovered a young Anthony in bed with Graham, which began the end of their marriage. Years later, Graham and Anthony Ray reconnected and eventually married in 1960. The fact that he had been her stepson added a layer of taboo and contributed to the shock value. In Graham's case, Hollywood tried to minimize media coverage of her marriage to Anthony Ray and focused public attention on her professional endeavors instead. The marriage did not remain secret for long, and when it became public, it sparked a mix of shock, disapproval, and fascination. Despite this, Graham's career continued, though she never regained the prominence she had enjoyed in the 1950s. For Frances Farmer's story, Farmer's troubles began in the early 1940s when she was arrested for drunk driving. Her behavior became increasingly erratic, leading to further arrests and negative publicity. In 1943, after a series of confrontations with studio officials, police, and her own family, Farmer was declared mentally incompetent and institutionalized. Frances Farmer's institutionalization is where most of the controversy and allegations of abuse stem from. She was subjected to various psychiatric treatments, some of which were brutal by modern standards. Reports and later accounts from Farmer herself suggested that she underwent insulin shock therapy, electroconvulsive therapy, and a lobotomy, though the lobotomy remains unconfirmed. During Farmer's time, mental illness was highly stigmatized, and studios often went to great lengths to either hide or downplay stars' mental health issues. In Farmer's case, her initial outbursts and erratic behavior were often not reported or were minimized by press. 5. Judy Garland's mistreatment. The abuse of child stars in Hollywood is a well-documented aspect of the industry. Judy Garland was signed to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer at just 13 years old and quickly became one of Hollywood's most famous faces. From the outset of her career, Garland was subjected to extreme pressures regarding her appearance, weight, and performance. MGM controlled every aspect of her life, including her physical appearance. She was placed on a strict diet, and studio doctors prescribed her amphetamines to maintain her energy during long days of filming and barbiturates to help her sleep. Garland's schedule was grueling. As a young actress, she was expected to work long hours, often through illness and exhaustion. The studio system prioritized production schedules over the well-being of its stars. The studio's public relations machinery crafted a public persona for Garland that contradicted the reality of her situation. They presented her as a happy, carefree star, which was far from true. 6. Hedy Lamar's shoplifting charges. Hedy Lamar, once heralded as the most beautiful woman in the world, faced shoplifting charges later in life. Hedy Lamar was not only a major Hollywood star in the 1940s and 1950s, but also a pioneering inventor. Her most notable contribution to technology is the development of a radio guidance system during World War II, which later became the basis for modern Wi-Fi and Bluetooth technology. Despite her achievements, Lamar was arrested multiple times for shoplifting during the 1960s. The first notable incident occurred in Los Angeles, where she was accused of stealing $86 worth of goods from a department store. Subsequent arrests followed over the years for similar charges. Each case brought her negative publicity, which was starkly at odds with the glamorous and controlled image she had maintained during her film career. In Lamar's case, the industry attempted to minimize media coverage of her arrests when they were reported. This approach was typical of how Hollywood dealt with the personal failings of its stars, especially those who had been pivotal to its success in earlier decades. The efforts to hide her shoplifting charges were also an attempt to preserve the mystique associated with her cinematic and intellectual legacy. Lamar's status as a revered actress and an accomplished inventor made her personal missteps inconsistent with the public and professional persona that had been constructed around her. 7.
Toxic therapy from your vape.
Nobody's texting back. Let's jump to conclusions. They're all hanging out without me?
Exactly. Stay with that.
Is your vape making things worse? Text DIGIT to 88709 to quit.
7. Fatty's trials. Hollywood will always remember the scandal surrounding Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, since it may have been the first major scandal in the American film industry. The repercussions of his trials were far-reaching, affecting not only Arbuckle's career, but also the reputation and operations of Hollywood as a whole. The scandal began over Labor Day weekend in 1921 during a party in a San Francisco hotel hosted by Arbuckle. Virginia Rapp, the young actress, became fatally ill at the party and died 4 days later due to peritonitis caused by a ruptured bladder. Arbuckle was accused of assaulting Rapp, which allegedly led to her injuries. Arbuckle faced 3 trials between 1921 and 1922. The first 2 trials resulted in hung juries and widespread media coverage. The third trial ended in an acquittal and even included a formal written statement from the jury apologizing to Arbuckle for the ordeal he had been subjected to. Despite his acquittal, the damage to his public image was irreversible. At the time of Arbuckle's trials, Hollywood was still in its formative years. In response to Arbuckle's trials and other scandals, Hollywood began to implement what would become known as the Hays Code, a set of moral guidelines for the production of films. Although not fully enforced until 1934, the groundwork began in the early 1920s as a direct result of scandals like Arbuckle's, 8, Joan and Beth's rivalry. The feud between Joan Crawford and Bette Davis is one of the most infamous rivalries in Hollywood history. While the animosity between these 2 legendary actresses added a layer of intrigue to their public personas, Hollywood initially tried to suppress the extent of their discord to maintain a more controlled and harmonious image of the stars. Both actresses were in constant competition for the same types of roles, and they were often pitted against each other by the studios themselves as a marketing tactic. This rivalry was particularly evident at the Oscars. For instance, when Crawford was not nominated for an Oscar for her performance in Sudden Fear, she contacted other nominees to accept the award on their behalf should they win and be unable to attend. This maneuver was seen as a way to steal the spotlight from Davis when she was nominated for a lead star. The rivalry reached its peak during the filming of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Despite their mutual disdain, Crawford and Davis co-starred in this film, which became a huge commercial success. The film's production saw numerous instances of one-upmanship and alleged sabotage between the two stars, which has since become part of Hollywood lore. Hollywood studios, aware of the potential negative impact of such public displays of animosity, initially tried to weaken the feud. They were concerned that it could harm the marketability of the films involving both actresses. Publicists worked to either deny the feud or spin it as a friendly rivalry. Despite, or perhaps because of the feud, both actresses remained central figures in Hollywood. 9. Elizabeth Taylor's multiple marriages. Elizabeth Taylor, one of Hollywood's most glamorous and talented actresses, was equally famous for her multiple marriages as for her cinematic achievements. Throughout her life, Taylor was married 8 times to 7 different men. Her marriages were a mixture of genuine love, media spectacle, and sometimes scandal, reflecting the changing attitudes and mores of American society across several decades. Hollywood was invested in maintaining Taylor's image as a leading lady. Each of her marriages brought a different facet of her personal life into the public eye, sometimes overshadowing her career achievements. Studios often sought to minimize the negative press and promote her films instead of her personal life. Taylor's relationships with the press were complicated. While she was often willing to share aspects of her personal life, the studios she worked with were less enthusiastic about such disclosures, particularly when they impacted her image and their investments. During the era when Taylor's most scandalous relationships occurred notably,
This Memorial Day weekend only, Nissan of McKinney is having a construction sale. 121 new roads must go. Lock in 0% APR financing, or lease just $289 a month for 36 months. It's under $300 a month. That's a better way. New Nissan 0% or lease $289 a month this weekend only. Hurry, construction savings end Monday night. Nissan of McKinney on the big curve at 75 and 121.
Fisher and her multiple marriages to Richard Burton, Hollywood's PR machinery worked overtime. Hollywood's attempts to manage and sometimes hide the details of her marriages were driven by commercial considerations related to the box office appeal. Over time, however, the perception of her marriages shifted from scandalous to somewhat tragic as the emotional toll of her personal life became apparent. And Charlie Chaplin's relationships. Probably Hollywood's most iconic figure in its golden age era, Charlie, was involved in several relationships with young actresses, which Hollywood tried to keep hidden due to the potential scandal and backlash that could tarnish his public image and the film industry's reputation. Charlie Chaplin was fast becoming a worldwide star, and his fame and influence in the industry were immense, giving him significant power and leeway in his personal and professional life. He was known for his relationships with younger women, which began to surface publicly as his fame grew. His first high-profile romance
I really
was
like
with
this
Edna
poem.
Beyonce, who was 19 when she met 26-year-old Chaplin. This relationship, though not scandalous by age-different standards today, set the stage for his future, more controversial involvements. Chaplin met and married Mildred Harris when she was just 16 and he was 29. The marriage was troubled and ended in a public and messy divorce. In his mid-30s, Charlie married Lita Gray in haste after getting her pregnant. The marriage ended in a highly scandalous divorce that included accusations of Chaplin's inappropriate behavior and demands, which were detailed in lurid court filings that became public sensation. Perhaps his most enduring relationship was with Una O'Neill, whom he married when he was 54 and she was 18. Despite the significant age gap, this relationship lasted until Chaplin's death and was seen as a loving and stable partnership. Scandals involving morality were particularly damaging and could lead to boycotts, bans, and financial losses. To protect its assets, the industry often went to great lengths to manage or suppress such stories. Despite Hollywood's efforts, Chaplin's personal life did become an easy meal for the press, particularly during his divorces. The divorce from Lita Gray, for example, included allegations that were sensational and damning, revealing details about Chaplin's private life that he would have preferred to keep hidden. 11. Errol Flynn's trial. It would be a surprise if Errol Flynn didn't make it on this list. The leading man of Hollywood's golden age became as famous for his off-screen escapades as for his on-screen heroics. His 1943 statutory trial is one of the early scandals that tested Hollywood's ability to protect its stars in the face of serious allegations. scandal began when two underage girls, Betty Hansen and Peggy Satterley, accused Flynn of unlawful intercourse. The allegations emerged in 1942, claiming that the incidents occurred
I'm
at
bored.
Flynn's home in Baldwin and
I'm gonna go work now. I love you all. I hope you all have an amazing day. You're amazing. Love you. Love you. Bye.